President Donald Trump of the United States, U.S. may be trying to cause unnecessary confusion to the traditional way of war settlements which date back to the end of World War I in 1918 and World War II in 1945 when Germany, considered as the aggressor, was meant to pay damages or reparation or the costs incurred by the U.S., Britain, France and the Soviet Union, which comprises Russia, Ukraine and 13 other republics, when Germany on August 1, 1914 mobilized troops from Berlin to support the defunct Austria-Hungary country, which included German-speaking Austrians, Magyars, Slavs, and Italians, after the Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia on June 28, 1914 following the bombing and shooting to death the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife, Sophie, the Duchess of Hohenberg, by a suspected group of extremists from Serbia that wanted to increase Serbian power in the Balkans by breaking up the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and the shooting specifically was carried out by a 19-year-old Gavrilo Princip. Russia came to the aid of Serbia, and with the support of other countries like Britain and France, Austria-Hungary was defeated after so many deaths, especially on the side of Serbia's civilian populations, and at the end of the World War I, Germany was meant to pay the damages and costs of war as the aggressor, and on September 1, 1939, Adolf Hitler of Germany, who is considered a nationalist extremist, on his apparent quest to expand iron race in Europe, invaded Poland, a border country whose people were considered inferior and powerless people, likely the same way Vladimir Putin of Russia may have seen Ukrainians. The action of Adolf Hitler forced Britain, France, US, and the Soviet Union to declare war on Germany on September 3, 1939, and the defeated Germany at the end of the World War II in 1945 after Adolf Hitler and his top generals refused to surrender and reportedly committed suicides inside their underground bunkers after millions of deaths, especially Jews. And in order to make Germany unable to attack another country again, Britain, France and US occupied West Germany, including West Berlin, for years with capitalist economy system, and at the same time, the Soviet Union occupied East Germany, including East Berlin, with communist economy system, and Germany, considered as the aggressor, was again meant to pay the damages or the costs of the World War II, which Germany has struggled to pay up to 2010, and it may be clearer that no victim of World War I, Serbia and World War II, Poland was apparently meant to pay debts or sign economic deals for the costs incurred by the countries that came to their aid. This may justify the action of Donald Trump requesting Ukraine to sign rare earth minerals deal with the US as criminally exploitative demand, and Donald Trump pushing the narrative that Europe will get their money back and US will not get its money back is simply and half-truths meant to mislead the public. Like President Emmanuel Macron of France recently corrected Donald Trump at the Oval Office that Europe is not getting the money back from Ukraine, that Russia is the one to pay them back the money, most especially from the seized Russia assets in Europe, and the US under the immediate past President Joe Biden seized billions of dollars of Russia assets confiscated to finance US aid to Ukraine. Interestingly, Vladimir Putin of Russia, who is also considered as a nationalist extremist like Adolf Hitler of Germany, on February 24, 2022 in a world news broadcast, made it very clear that he decided to declare special military operations in Ukraine because of US. That for many years, the US tried to expand its powers, stressing he does not have problem with Europe or NATO, saying NATO is the US foreign policy used by the North America to try to conquer Russia by thus enlisting some other countries that made up the defunct Soviet Union into NATO, and he would never allow US to assemble its military infrastructures in Ukraine, its closest neighboring country. Hence he decided to go after the pro-US Ukrainian politicians and government officials by demilitarizing Ukraine and reclaiming it as an independent territory he said was once part of Russia, adding that he mobilized Russian troops to invade and reclaim parts of Ukraine, which included Crimea, in 2014 in support of Russian-speaking people in Donbas he said were suffering humiliation and genocide attack by Kyiv government for many years, which President Volodymyr Zelensky in several occasions has accused Putin of always sponsoring and organizing terrorists to kill Ukrainians. A careful study shows that Russia may have been attacking Ukraine and other Soviet Union breakaway countries for decades because of fear of US power and the expansion of the US powers, with the North America country being backed by other powers in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, which was formed in 1949 by the US because of threats from the then Soviet Union. Putin has said during the world broadcast in 2022 that successive governments of U.S. have failed to respect the U.S.-Soviet Union agreement signed in 1987 by President Ronald Reagan of U.S. and Mikhail Gorbachev of Soviet Union, which reportedly agreed that the United States and the Soviet Union would avoid military confrontations and to prevent the use of nuclear weapons, and the Russia-NATO agreement during NATO summit in Paris, France in 1997 that stipulates mutual relations and security guarantee, which Putin said on February 24, 2022 that the agreement include U.S. not expanding its military formation in any of the Soviet Union republics, adding that, after the collapse of Soviet Union, some of the republics have been enlisted into NATO. But a check on why 3 countries from the defunct Soviet Union, Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia joined NATO in 2004 during Putin's first tenure as the president of Russia from 2000 to 2008, indicated that there was threat from Russia, and they all said they chose to align with US and Europe for the security guarantee of their people and territories against Putin-led Russia influence. Some other member countries of the defunct Soviet Union, which included Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Moldova, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Ukraine, and Uzbekistan have expressed interest to form alliance with the US and other European countries to be enlisted into NATO for their security guarantee against Putin-led Russia government influence. It would be recalled that the Soviet Union, officially the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, was a country made up of 15 republics that existed from 1922 to 1991, and they became very powerful after the end of World War II in 1945 and was seen as a threat by the US and European countries. In fact, the power of the USSR was felt during the Cold War that started shortly after the end of World War II till 1990. But Putin's style of managing relations with other member countries of the defunct Soviet Union may have forced them to want to join NATO, and Putin insisting that the remaining others must not join NATO is apparently a case of a dictator trying to violate the sovereignty of Ukraine, Georgia, amongst others, as if they are colonies still under Russia rule. We called on the US President Donald Trump to show good and responsible commitment if he really wanted to resolve the Russia-Ukraine war by thus alleviating the fears of Putin that US has no intention to attack Russia as long as Russia can start and continue to respect the sovereignty of the member countries of the defunct Soviet Union, and Putin must allow those that want to join NATO do so, because as an independent countries, their rights to political and military decisions should be respected by Russia, including the US. None of the former Soviet Union republics became more interested in joining NATO until Vladimir Putin came into power in 2000. Even when they were having political issues with other Russian presidents, they never were more interested like it is now in joining NATO until Putin started attacking them, accusing them of forming an alliance with the US. After the diplomatic failure at the U.S. Oval Office between President Donald Trump and President Volodymyr Zelensky last Friday, the UK signed a new loan agreement with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on March 1, 2025 during a meeting at 10 Downing Street last Saturday. The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Zelensky finalized a £2.26 billion, approximately $2.8 billion United States dollars, bilateral loan to support Ukraine's defense capabilities. It was gathered that the loan is part of the G7's Extraordinary Revenue Acceleration (ERA) loans for Ukraine initiative, with the funds intended to be repaid using revenues from frozen Russian assets. Zelensky noted that the money would be directed toward weapons production in Ukraine, framing it as a step toward justice by making Russia bear the financial burden of the war it initiated. Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, who also attended the European Summit for Ukraine in the UK, said in numbers of posts on his Facebook account that, "I'm in London this morning, working with President Zelensky, Prime Minister Starmer, and European leaders to bring about a just and lasting peace in Ukraine, one that guarantees Ukraine's sovereignty and security." Russia's war against Ukraine did not start on February 24, 2022. It started over a decade ago, in Crimea, and every day since, Canada has been clear: we stand with the people of Ukraine. In London, I announced new sanctions against key Kremlin allies, paramilitary organizations, their leaders, and others who are complicit in helping Russia wage war in Ukraine. We won't allow Russia's enablers to prolong this illegal invasion. Russia illegally and unjustifiably invaded Ukraine. For 3 years now, Ukrainians have fought with courage and resilience. Their fight for democracy, freedom, and sovereignty is a fight that matters to us all. Canada will continue to stand with Ukraine and Ukrainians in achieving a just and lasting peace. On June 13, 2024, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau posted on his verified Facebook account and said thus: "Canada has always said that Russia should pay for its illegal invasion of Ukraine, and it will. G7 nations just announced that we will use Russia's own resources to back a new $50 billion USD loan for Ukraine to defend and rebuild." Volodymyr Zelensky, in a video and written statement on Monday, said that, "As a result of these days, we see clear support from Europe. Even more unity, even more willingness to cooperate. Everyone is united on the main issue. For peace to be real, we need real security guarantees. And this is the position of all of Europe, the entire continent. The United Kingdom, the European Union, Turkey. Of course, we understand the importance of America, and we are grateful for all the support we've received from the United States. There has not been a day when we haven't felt gratitude. It's gratitude for the preservation of our independence. Our resilience in Ukraine is based on what our partners are doing for us, and for their own security. What we need is peace, not endless war. And that's why we say security guarantees are the key to this." We had reported that the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has told United States U.S. President Donald Trump that Ukrainians don't need just a ceasefire from President Vladimir Putin-led Russia, but a complete end to the war, which Ukraine's security will be guaranteed from further or future invasions from the neighboring rival European country, adding that he was in the United States to sign rare earth mineral deals as drafted by both countries' teams, which included Ukraine's security guarantee. Making the statement at the Oval Office on Friday afternoon according to American local time, when the meeting went smoothly, friendly and calmly for more than 35 minutes until the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance interrupted and brought in U.S. internal political matters into the Russia-Ukraine issue by thus condemning the administration of the immediate past President of the U.S., Joe Biden, for always appearing before the press to accuse Putin and Russia of bringing destruction to Ukraine without an act of diplomacy to peace path, which he said the current President Donald Trump is trying to achieve. And the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky quickly responded and asked the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance what kind of diplomacy is he talking about, reminding the Vice President that Putin has been destroying lives in Ukraine for years during the era of previous presidents before Joe Biden, including 2014 when Russia took over Crimea, to 2022 and 2019 during the first tenure of President Donald Trump, when he signed a ceasefire peace deal with Putin, but the Russia president broke the ceasefire and continued to destroy lives in Ukraine. Obviously and apparently annoyed, Vice President J.D. responded by accusing the visiting Zelensky of coming to the Oval Office to disrespect U.S. sitting president in his office, adding that no president in the world has ever done that before in the Oval Office. The full length of the meeting video footage and the Fox News interview with Zelensky shortly after the Oval Office meeting ended with heated arguments and series of crosstalks are published in full in our audio and video versions of this news reportage. We had reported that, contrary to media speculations that the embattled Ukraine has reached an agreement with the United States, U.S.-led President Donald Trump on the rare earth minerals deal required as exchange or economic benefits for the U.S. to continue to assist the war-torn Ukraine with military aid against ongoing President Vladimir Putin-led Russia military destructions and bring peace to the country. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a video press release on Wednesday night, debunks the speculations, saying, "The US and the Ukrainian teams have been working together in preparation for the negotiations on the terms of the economic deal this coming Friday in the US, signaling, no agreement has been reached yet." We had reported that the United States President, Donald Trump, has said that if the war in Ukraine is not stopped now, it could lead or escalate to World War III, with the visiting French President, Emmanuel Macron, insisting that Russia is the aggressor of the war, hence Russia must pay damages as part of the negotiations for the peace deal. But the US, in another meeting at the United Nations General Assembly on Monday, joined Russia to vote against a resolution condemning Russia over the war in Ukraine. We had reported that, following the public criticism of President Donald Trump of the United States that the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, is a man who has lost touch with his people and a dictator who refused to conduct election for new leader to take over the affairs of the country, Zelensky, while asked if he could resign by a journalist at a press conference organized to mark the third year anniversary of war in Ukraine, says he would do that if it would bring peace to Ukraine, and he's ready to do that as exchange for Ukraine to be enlisted as a member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. We had earlier reported that despite the medical condition that he's under the high flow of oxygen in the hospital over double pneumonia, Pope Francis on Sunday, on the eve of the third year anniversary of the war in Ukraine launched by President Vladimir Putin-led Russian government, called on everyone in the world to remember victims of the war in Ukraine, describing the war, which started on February 24, 2022, as painful, shameful for all humanity. Previously, we reported that the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, has continued his phone conversations with world leaders with a video and written press statement on Saturday, saying that the world leaders must ensure that the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, is not allowed to deceive the world again, insisting that Putin has used Russian army, intelligence services and mercenaries over 30 years to bring death to America, Europe, Africa, Middle East, Syria. This, Zelensky stated after he began special defense campaign with phone conversations with world leaders following strained relationship with one of the countries that has majorly assisted Ukraine in its defense against Russia since 2022 when the war began, United States, US President Donald Trump, who threatened to stop military aid to Ukraine, claiming that Ukraine started the war it knows it cannot win, calling President Volodymyr Zelensky a modestly successful comedian and a dictator that deceived the immediate past US President Joe Biden to commit over $350 billion of US taxpayers' money on a war the North America country will not get any profit in return, with the Ukrainian president accusing Donald Trump of disinformation and saying that Putin-led Russia has intensified attacks and launched massive bomb destructions on Ukraine cities and villages during the week. Vatican on Saturday says the head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, slept well on Friday night and now resting after he had had a breathing crisis on Friday afternoon, which led to him vomiting, making the 88-year-old pontiff to be supported by a breathing machine. Pope Francis slept well and is resting, according to a Saturday morning statement from the Holy See Press Office, according to the Vatican news media. The Holy See Press Office said on Saturday morning that Pope Francis slept well and spent the first part of the morning resting. After a quiet night, the Pope is resting, said by the Holy See Press Office in a statement. The Pope has not experienced any further crisis following yesterday's bronchospasm. This morning he had breakfast, enjoyed a coffee, and read the newspapers. His condition remains complex, and the prognosis is still guarded, the Catholic Public Relations Unit stated. Vatican News added that an earlier statement, issued on Friday evening, had noted that Pope Francis's respiratory condition worsened following an isolated bronchospasm. The Pope was promptly started on non-invasive mechanical ventilation, to which he responded. Thanks to non-invasive mechanical ventilation, gas exchange values are reported to have returned to levels similar to those before the episode. However, about 24 to 48 hours are needed to be able to assess the Pope's clinical condition following the isolated bronchospasm. These statements come as the Pope continues to be treated for bilateral pneumonia in Rome's Gemelli Hospital. He was admitted on Friday, the 14th of February, following an infection of the respiratory tract, according to Vatican News. The Holy See Press in a statement on Friday evening had said that the Holy Father, this afternoon, after a morning spent alternating between respiratory physiotherapy and prayer in the chapel, experienced an isolated episode of bronchospasm. This caused an episode of vomiting, which led to him inhaling some and a sudden worsening of his respiratory condition. The Holy Father was promptly subjected to bronchial aspiration to clear his airways and was put on non-invasive mechanical ventilation, which improved his oxygen levels. He has remained alert and aware at all times, cooperating with therapeutic treatments. The prognosis, therefore, remains guarded. In the morning, he received the Eucharist. Meanwhile, the Catholic faithful attend a prayer service at St. Peter's Square in Vatican City on Friday, February 28 as Pope Francis continues his hospitalization. We had reported that the Vatican says Pope Francis is still experiencing complex or chronic health conditions that affect multiple parts of his body systems, but the head of the Catholic Church is resting calmly since on Thursday, adding that the prognosis or the likely outcome or the forecasted outcome of the current health conditions of the Pope is still guarded. This, as local media had earlier reported that the Pope confided on some of his aides that he may not make it alive, with reports of some Catholic officials already rehearsing for his funeral. The Pope was admitted to Rome's Gemelli Hospital on Friday, February 14th, following a bout of bronchitis, with his doctors later diagnosing bilateral pneumonia. We had reported that despite the medical condition that he's under the high flow of oxygen in the hospital over double pneumonia, Pope Francis on Sunday, on the eve of the third-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine launched by President Vladimir Putin-led Russia government, called on everyone in the world to remember victims of the war in Ukraine, describing the war which started on February 24, 2022 as painful, shameful for all humanity. We had reported that the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, has continued his phone conversations with world leaders with a video and written press statement on Saturday saying that the world leaders must ensure that the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, is not allowed to deceive the world again, insisting that Putin has used Russian army, intelligence services and mercenaries over 30 years to bring death to America, Europe, Africa, Middle East, Syria. This, Zelensky stated after he began special defense campaign with phone conversations with world leaders following strained relationship with one of the countries that has majorly assisted Ukraine in its defense against Russia since 2022 when the war began, United States. U.S. President Donald Trump, who threatened to stop military aid to Ukraine, claiming that Ukraine started the war it knows it cannot win, calling President Volodymyr Zelensky a modestly successful comedian and a dictator that deceived the immediate past U.S. President, Joe Biden, to commit over $350 billion of U.S. taxpayers' money on a war the North America country will not get any profit in return, with Ukrainian President accusing Donald Trump of disinformation and saying that Putin-led Russia has intensified attacks and launched massive bomb destructions on Ukraine's cities and villages during the week of Donald Trump's outburst. We had also reported that the head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, is not out of danger and his health worsened on Saturday evening, says Vatican. The Pope's funeral is allegedly being rehearsed after the 88-year-old warned he may not survive pneumonia. The Swiss guard protecting the Pope, 88, is rehearsing his funeral, with members under a curfew as they are. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has told United States, U.S. President Donald Trump that Ukrainians don't need just a ceasefire from President Vladimir Putin-led Russia, but a complete end to the war, which Ukraine's security will be guaranteed from further or future invasions from the neighboring rival European country, adding that he was in the United States to sign rare earth mineral deals as drafted by both countries' teams, which included Ukraine's security guarantee. Making the statement at the Oval Office on Friday afternoon according to American local time, when the meeting went successful, smoothly, friendly and calmly for more than 35 minutes until the U.S. Vice President, J.D. Vance interrupted and brought in U.S. internal political matters into the Russia-Ukraine issue by thus condemning the administration of the immediate past president of the U.S., Joe Biden, for always appearing before the press to accuse Putin and Russia of bringing destructions to Ukraine without an act of diplomacy to peace path, which he said the current president, Donald Trump, is trying to achieve. And the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, quickly responded and asked the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance what kind of diplomacy is he talking about, reminding the Vice President that Putin has been destroying lives in Ukraine for years during the era of previous presidents before Joe Biden, including 2014 when Russia took over Crimea to 2022 and 2019 during the first tenure of President Donald Trump when he signed a ceasefire peace deal with Putin, but the Russia president broke the ceasefire and continued to destroy lives in Ukraine. Obviously and apparently annoyed, Vice President J.D. responded by accusing the visiting Zelensky of coming to the Oval Office to disrespect U.S. sitting president in his office, adding that no president in the world has ever done that before in the Oval Office. The full length of the meeting video footage and the Fox News interview with Zelensky shortly after the Oval Office meeting ended with heated arguments and series of crosstalks are published in full in our audio and video versions of this news reportage. During the heated arguments, Donald Trump said he gave Ukraine Javelin missiles to destroy Russian tanks during his first tenure in office, saying, Barack Obama only gave Ukraine sheets or cloths for Ukrainian soldiers to dress their belts, when Zelensky said nobody stopped Russia when for years Putin has been destroying lives, people's houses and other properties in Ukraine. Accusing Zelensky of being disrespectful to Americans, Donald Trump said that if not for the US, Russia would have finished Ukraine in a matter of 2 weeks when the war began in 2024. Adding that Zelensky needed to sign the ceasefire peace deal, as he is not in a good position now to say otherwise because his people and soldiers are dying and Russia bullets are flying, causing more destruction to the country. Zelensky said he has far more respect for President Donald Trump and the entire American people, and he has always been saying thank you for the support Ukraine has been getting from the US since the war began. That his President Vladimir Putin that is selling the act of disinformation to President Donald Trump and the world that Russia has destroyed everything in Ukraine. Adding that Ukraine is still living, school children still go to schools, although difficult, but sometimes they do attend underground classes and receive lessons online. Zelensky said that over 700,000 Russian soldiers have been killed in Ukraine, a fact he said Putin will never tell the world. Zelensky said Putin is not only after Ukraine, that US also has a problem which they might not feel it now but in future. We had reported that contrary to media speculations that the embattled Ukraine has reached an agreement with the United States, US-led President Donald Trump on the rare earth minerals deal required as exchange or economic benefits for the US to continue to assist the war-torn Ukraine with military aid against ongoing President Vladimir Putin-led Russian military destructions and bring peace to the country. The Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, in a video press release on Wednesday night debunked the speculations, saying, the US and the Ukrainian teams have been working together in preparation for the negotiations on the terms of the economic deal this coming Friday in the US, signaling, no agreement has been reached yet. We had reported that the United States President, Donald Trump, has said that if the war in Ukraine is not stopped now, it could lead or escalate to World War III, with the visiting French President, Emmanuel Macron, insisting that Russia is the aggressor of the war, hence Russia must pay damages as part of the negotiations for the peace deal. But the US, in another meeting at the United Nations General Assembly on Monday, joined Russia to vote against a resolution condemning Russia over the war in Ukraine. We had reported that, following the public criticism of President Donald Trump of the United States that the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, is a man who has lost touch with his people and a dictator who refused to conduct election for new leader to take over the affairs of the country. Zelensky, while asked if he could resign by a journalist at a press conference organized to mark the 3rd year anniversary of war in Ukraine, says he will do that if it would bring peace to Ukraine, and he's ready to do that as exchange for Ukraine to be enlisted as a member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. We had earlier reported that despite the medical condition that he's under the high flow of oxygen in the hospital over double pneumonia, Pope Francis on Sunday, on the eve of the third-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine launched by President Vladimir Putin-led Russian government, called on everyone in the world to remember victims of the war in Ukraine, describing the war which started on February 24, 2022 as painful, shameful for all humanity. Previously, we reported that the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, has continued his phone conversations with world leaders with a video and written press statement on Saturday saying that the world leaders must ensure that the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, is not allowed to deceive the world again, insisting that Putin has used Russian army, intelligence services and mercenaries over 30 years to bring death to America, Europe, Africa, Middle East, Syria. This, Zelensky stated after he began special defense campaign with phone conversations with world leaders following strained relationship with one of the countries that has majorly assisted Ukraine in its defense against Russia since 2022 when the war began, United States, U.S. President Donald Trump, who threatened to stop military aid to Ukraine, claiming that Ukraine started the war it knows it cannot win, calling President Volodymyr Zelensky a modestly successful comedian and a dictator that deceived the immediate past U.S. President Joe Biden to commit over $350 billion of U.S. taxpayers' money on a war the North America country will not get any profit in return, with the Ukrainian president accusing Donald Trump of disinformation and saying that Putin-led Russia has intensified attacks and launched massive bomb destructions on Ukraine's cities and villages during the week of Donald Trump's outburst.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to have President Zelensky of Ukraine, and we've been working very hard, very close, and we've actually known each other for a long time. We've been dealing with each other for a long time and very well. We had a little negotiation spat, but that worked out great, I think, for both countries, I think for the world, actually, beyond both countries. And we have something that is a very fair deal, and we look forward to getting in and digging and working and getting some of the rare earth, but it means we're going to be inside, and it's a big commitment from the United States, and we appreciate working with you very much, and we will continue to do that. We have had some very good discussions with Russia. I spoke with President Putin, and we're going to try and bring this to a close. It's something that you want and that he wants. We have to negotiate a deal. But we've started the confines of a deal, and I think something can happen. The big thing is the number of soldiers, mostly at this point, but soldiers being killed. We're losing thousands of soldiers. On both sides, we're losing a lot of soldiers, and we want to see it stop, and we want to see the money get put to different kinds of use, like rebuilding. And we're going to be working very hard, but we've had a lot of very good conversations. I will say until we came along, the Biden administration didn't speak to Russia whatsoever. They didn't speak to anybody. They just allowed this to continue. And I will say that, I'll say in front of you, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, if I were president, this war would have never happened. We would have had a deal negotiated for you without having to go through what you've gone through. But your soldiers have been unbelievably brave. We've given them great equipment, but somebody has to use the equipment. They've been unbelievably brave, and we give them great credit. This was supposed to be over very quickly, and here we are 3 years later. So I give tremendous credit to your generals and your soldiers and yourself, in the sense that it's been very hard fighting, very tough fighting, great fighters. And you have to be very proud of them from that standpoint. But now we want to get it over with. It's enough, right? We want to get it over with. So it's an honor to have you here. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to sign the agreement at the conference in the East Room in a little while, right after lunch. And we'll be having lunch together. We're also discussing some other things, and we appreciate everybody being here. It's somewhat of an exciting moment, but the really exciting moment is when they stop the shooting and we end up with a deal. And I think we're fairly close to getting that. And an honor to have you, and please, if you'd like to say something.
No, thanks so much, Mr. President. Thank you for the invitation. And really, I hope that this first document, will be first step to real security guarantees for Ukraine, our people, our children. I really count on it. And of course, we count that America will not stop support. Really, for us, it's very important to support and to continue it. I want to discuss it with details further during our conversation, and of course the infrastructure or security guarantees. Because for today, I understand what Europe is ready to do, and of course I want to discuss with you what United States will be ready to do. And I really count on your strong position to stop Putin. And you said that enough with the war. I think that is very important, really, to say these words to Putin at the very beginning. At the very beginning of war, because he is a killer and terrorist. But I hope that together we can stop him. But for us, it's very important to, to save our country, our values, our freedom and democracy, and of course, no compromises with the killer about our territories, but it will be later. And of course, what I wanted, we spoke about it by phone with you about the drones production. We have very good drones production. I think the best one in the world for today because of the war. Yes, and of course, we need very much the air defense. You have the best air defense in the world, and really you helped us under attacks of Russians. And I want to speak how we can exchange the licenses. We're open to share the licenses of all our drones with you, of course, with the United States. And we need licenses for quick production of air defense. Even after the war, we need our nation to be calm, that we are secure. So that's why we need this air shield. And of course, about this, I want to speak about the contingents. I think that France and UK already spoke to you, and we know that Europe is ready, but without the United States, they will not be ready to be as strong as we need. And the last point is about exchange, about our people and children. And you know that this crazy Russian, that they stolen 20,000 of children, Ukrainian children. They changed their names, they changed their families, relatives, and now they're in Russia. We want to bring them back, and really it's a big dream, task and goal for me, and our warriors. By the way, Mr. President, we exchanged, released more than 4,000 warriors from Russian prison, but there are thousands more in the prison. I wanted to share with you some images. How it's just can I now?
Yeah, please.
One minute. Just you to understand in what circumstances, in what situation they are, and what the attitude of Russia to our prisoners. That guys, just you before and after. And you see before and after, just you to understand. Now thousands of such guys, ladies and men, there, and that, so they don't eat, they beat them, and they, do a lot of bad things. So out of, even during the war, there are rules. Everybody knows there are rules during the war. These guys, they don't have any rules. You see that 50, 60 kilograms left, and a lot of such things. And I didn't want to show you what the changes with images of children, because I will share with you. And I mean, it's looking tragic.
Yep, it's tough stuff.
I wanted very much to give you. You see it.
Yeah.
This is pastor, by the way. They stolen pastors because it's not Russian church. They stolen pastors and moved pastors to the prison. We, at the end of last year, we brought 3 pastors. We could exchange them. This is pastor, you see.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. So I mean, this I wanted to show you, and this. So thank you very much.
We want to get that into, right?
Yeah. Of course we
And
will.
I think we will. And
We have to, of course.
you have any questions, please?
Will you continue to ask you about this,
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. How much money is the U.S. going to put into the fund that has been created today? And how does this provide long-term security for Ukraine?
Well, we don't know exactly how much because we're going to be putting some money in a fund that we're going to get from the raw earth that we're going to be taking and sharing in terms of revenue. So it's going to be a lot of money will be made from the sale and from the use of raw earth. And as you know, our country doesn't have much raw earth. We have a lot of oil and gas, but we don't have a lot of the raw earth. And what we do have is protected by the environmentalists, but that could be unprotected. But still, it's not very much. They have among the best in the world in terms of raw earth. So we're going to be using that, taking it, using it for all of the things we do, including AI and including weapons and the military. And it's really going to very much satisfy our needs. So it's something that just worked out really well. We have a lot of oil and we have a lot of gas. We have a lot, but we don't have raw earth. So this has just about every component of the raw earth that we need for computers, for all of the things we do. This puts us in great shape. I think they're going to have great luck. I think once we make the agreement, that's going to be 95% of it. They're not going to go back to fighting. I've spoken with President Putin. And I feel very strong. I've known him for a long time, and I feel very strongly that they're very serious about it, and we'll make a deal. And when the deal is made, I don't think we talk about security. Everyone's talking about the other day. All they talked about was security. I said, let me make the deal first. I have to make the deal first. I don't worry about security right now. We have to have a deal because right now, last week, 2,000 soldiers died on both sides. 2,000, and they're losing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 a week. So as we sit here and we talk, people are getting shot and dying on the battlefield. And, you know, they're not American soldiers, but they're Russian soldiers and they're Ukrainian soldiers, and we want to be able to stop it. And we want to be able also to spend money on other things. We don't want to. This is a tremendous amount of money. And what the Biden administration did was terrible. They were giving money, but he had no security on the money. Europe, as you know, gave much less money, but they had security. It was in the form of a loan. They get their money back, and we didn't. And now, at least we're protected because the American taxpayer has to be protected too. But this is an incredible agreement for Ukraine because we have a big investment in their country now, and what they have, very few people have. And we're able to really go forward with very, very high-tech things and many other things, including weaponry that we're going to use in many locations, but that we need for our country. This allows us to do that.
Will you continue?
I'm sorry. Can I?
Military aid.
Yes, go ahead, please.
If I can just yes. In the document, there is one of the very important points. If we speak about business and investment, we never had LNG terminals in Ukraine. This document will open. I mean, the next document, but anyway, here.
President Zelensky, do you feel like the U.S. is on your side? That the President Trump is on your side at this moment?
Maybe something like. What do you think?
He wants to know. Do you think that? Sort of a stupid question. I guess we wouldn't be here if I wasn't. But
I think that the United States on our side from the very beginning of occupation, and I think that President Trump on our side, and of course, I'm sure that the United States President will not stop support. This is crucial for us. It's important for us. Yes. And Putin, the president speaks about the people and the soldiers which are dying, but they came to our territory, they came to our land. They began this war, and they have to stop. And I think this is the question, was really the most important question. Can President Trump, I hope yes, with some other allies, to stop Putin withdraw these enemies, our enemy, withdraw these troops from our land? And I think that you asked about the history. I think that if President, or when, he will stop Putin, if President Trump will bring peace to our country, I think he will be on this wall.
We've had very, very good talks.
Mr. President, what about military aid to Ukraine?
President Zelensky just said that there'll be no compromises with Vladimir Putin. I just wanted to ask both of you. Firstly, are there compromises that you think that President Zelensky is going to have to make? And President Zelensky, is there anything that you might be thinking that you may be able to offer or bring to the table, for example, elections? Thank you.
I think you're going to have to always make compromises. You can't do any deals without compromises. So certainly he's going to have to make some compromises, but hopefully they won't be as big as some people think you're going to have to make. That's all. It's all we can do. I'm here as an arbitrator, as a mediator to a certain extent between two parties that have been very hostile, to put it mildly. They've been very hostile. There's been a vicious war. There's been a vicious war. You know, it's a very level battlefield, and those bullets go out, and as I've said many times, we were talking about it with Pete, many times the only thing stopping those bullets is a human body. And in the case we're talking about, generally young human bodies are stopping a lot of bullets. It's dead level. That's why it's great farmland. It's great land. It's great farmland, but there's very little protection against the bullets that are being, and other things that are being shot. So all I can do is see if I can get everybody at the table and get an agreement. And I think we're going to end up with an agreement. Otherwise, I wouldn't probably be even here today.
Mr. President, I have two questions for you. Do you think ultimately your legacy will be the peacemaker, not the president that led this country into another war and ended foreign wars?
I hope it will. I mean, I hope I'm going to be remembered as a peacemaker. This would be a great thing if we could do this. I'm doing this to save lives more than anything else. Second is to save a lot of money, but I consider that to be far less important. So I hope I'm going to, thank you, Brian, for that question. It was a nice question. I hope I'll be known and recognized as a peacemaker. This would be a great thing to solve. This is a very dangerous situation. You know, this could lead to a third world war. This was headed in the wrong direction. If this election were lost, if we didn't win this election, and by the way, we won it by a lot. That was a mandate. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. We won everything. The districts, you look at the areas of red, take a look at a map. This was a big mandate, and this was one of the things. I said, we're going to get this thing settled. If we didn't win, I think this could have very well ended up in a third world war, and that would not have been a good situation. What was your second question?
My second question for President Zelensky.
No.
Do you ever, why don't you wear a suit? You're the highest level.
Why?
Sorry? You're the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. You own a suit?
Yeah, you have problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not
Really?
respecting
I don't have
the
such.
office.
I will wear a costume after this war will finish. Yes, maybe one, maybe something like yours. Yes, maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe something cheaper. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, President. You said yesterday that you have
Why don't you wear a suit? You're the highest level in this country's office.
Yeah, we're going to have arms to Ukraine, yeah, sure. Hopefully I won't have to send very much, because hopefully we're going to have it finished. We're looking forward to finishing this quickly. We're not looking forward to sending a lot of arms. We're looking forward to getting the war finished so we can do other things. But we very much appreciate the agreement, because we needed what they had, and we're treating, our country is now treated fairly. Biden didn't do that. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. This should have never happened. This should have never started. But, sure, the answer is yes, but hopefully we won't have to send much, because I'm looking forward to getting it done quickly, very quickly.
Does that mean you provide security guarantees, Mr. President?
I don't want to talk about security yet, because I want to get the deal done. You fall into the same trap like everybody else. A million times you say it over and over. I want to get the deal done. Security is so easy. That's about 2% of the problem. I'm not worried about security. I'm worried about getting the deal done. The security is the easy part. Security is very nice. Everybody stopped shooting. And now will Europe put people there? I know France is going to. I know the UK is going to. I know other countries are going to, and they happen to be right next door. We haven't committed, but we could conceivably. You know, we have security in a different form. We'll have workers there digging, taking the raw earth so that we can create a lot of great product in this country. So in that sense, you have something, but we haven't determined that yet. I will say, in speaking to France and in speaking to, and they were here, as you know, last week and just the other day, they have committed to a lot of security. I don't think you're going to need much security. I think once this deal gets done, it's over. Russia's not going to want to go back, and nobody's going to want to go back. When this deal ends, I really believe this deal is going to be over. Question? Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you so
yeah.
much.
President, thank you.
Thank you.
Following your Starmer at the White House this past week, both of whom praised your urgent conviction of lead the pathway towards peace.
Yes.
Part of that involved
Maybe something like
re-engaging
this,
Russia.
Maybe something better.
We'll
see. Maybe something cheaper. Thank you.
Well, I love this guy. Who are you with?
One American News, sir.
Well, that's why I like him. One American News does a great job. I like the question. I think it's a very good question. It's a pathway to peace. It's a pathway to getting something solved. And I feel that as the head of this country, I have an obligation to do that. Plus, you know, we're very much involved. We got involved. It's too bad we got involved because there should have been no involvement because there should have been no war. And there shouldn't have been October 7th. That would have never happened. As you know, Iran was broke. They had no money to give to Hezbollah. They had no money to give to Hamas. They were stone cold broke. And then under Biden, they became rich as hell. They went from no money to $300 billion in a period of 4 years. And they gave a lot of that money away, and you see what happened. And that's a real mess also that we hope to be able to solve. But, no, I appreciate your question very much. I feel I have an obligation to try and do something to stop the death.
If I can answer. Yes, if I can answer.
Please,
sorry.
go ahead.
Please.
And I do like your clothing.
Yeah, really?
Even though I think he's a great guy, by the way. But I don't know if you two like each other, but you know what? I think he's dressed. I think he's dressed
I like
beautifully.
this guy. I don't know.
I think he's dressed beautifully.
So I have more serious things than answer on such
That's
questions.
true. That's
I will
good-
answer on more serious
That's a good
questions if
statement.
I can.
Yes.
Yeah. So please, about security guarantees and about just ceasefire. We can't just speak about ceasefire and speak. It will not work. Just ceasefire will never work. Because I'm like a president, I have this experience, and not only me. Ukraine before my presidency, from the 2014, Putin broken 25 times. 25 times he broken his own signature. 25 times he broken ceasefire.
But he never broke to me. He never broke to me.
No, you were the president. You were the president during.
He never broke to me.
In 2016, you've been the president, Mr. President. You've been the president, but he had, of course, not with you, but he had during those periods, he had conversations with our side. And we had Normandy format, you know, the France, Germany, Ukraine, and Russia. And he broken 25 times. That's why we will never accept just ceasefire. It will not work without security guarantees. Security guarantees, maybe President is right about this document and other, but this document is not enough. Strong army is enough, because his soldiers afraid, Putin's soldiers afraid of our soldiers when we're strong enough. If we are not strong enough, if we are empty, if our storage is empty, we can't defend our land. Today, you know, he knows that we have all the world knows that we have meeting. Yes, why he's using ballistic? Putin today using ballistic on our hospitals, schools, and etc. Ballistic. So he knows that we are here, and that President Trump is really have goodwill to stop this war. And you hear now the president. So why he's using? So he doesn't want to stop. He doesn't want. But I hope that we will do it. Really, we'll do it. Security, when we speak about security guarantees, when the Europeans are ready for contingents, they need USA backstop. If there will not be United States, we will not never have any contingents, strong contingents from the Europeans, because they don't want to divide alliance, connection between the United States as the main and strongest alliance and Europeans. And this is crucial. This is important. That's what we want to speak about very much. This is very important. And air defense. So, air defense, really, we have big deficit with all the systems. We need to provide this. We need it very much. Otherwise, Putin will never stop. And will go further and further. He doesn't want. He hates us, you know. It's not about me. He hates Ukrainians. He thinks that we are not a nation. He thinks, and he shared this thought, I think maybe with your team also, I don't know. But with all the Europeans, in media, officially and not, he always said that there is no such country, such nation, such language, and such life like Ukrainian. No, he really doesn't respect all the Ukrainians, and he wants to destroy us.
Why don't you wear a suit? You're the highest.
And you are right, Mr. President. That's 2%. This document, maybe other documents, it's a very good start, very good, but it will not enough to stop this person.
Mr. President, may I one more question, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
I asked President
They have to
Zelensky
pay.
this question.
This is the rule. This is the rule of the war. This is the rule of the war.
will see.
During all the centuries, all the history, this is the rule of the war. Who began, those pay. This is the rule. Putin began this war. He has to pay all money for innovation. He has to pay. Of course, some Russian assets, what we have in Europe, about 300 billion, we can use them. We can use for innovation and buy military support from the United States also. We can do it, but it's not enough. It's not enough.
President, I asked this question that you didn't like because I wanted to know.
Go ahead, please. Wait 1 second.
I asked this question that you didn't like because I wanted to know if you want to position yourself in the middle between Russia and
Yes,
Ukraine
I
or
do.
on the Ukraine.
No, I'm in the middle. I want to solve this thing. I'm for both. I want to get it solved. And it's wonderful to speak badly about somebody else, but I want to get it solved. If we can solve it, great. If we can't solve it, they're going to have to fight it out, and who knows what's going to happen. But I want to see it get solved.
May I follow up? One more question about U.S. troops in Europe. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine, your predecessor sent additional troops to Eastern Europe, including Poland, my country.
Yeah.
Are you committed to keeping these troops on the eastern flank of NATO in the future?
I'm very committed to Poland. I think Poland has really stepped up and done a great job for NATO. They, as you know, they paid more than they had to. They are one of the finest groups of people I've ever known. I'm very committed to Poland.
What about Baltics?
Poland's in a tough neighborhood, you know.
What about the Baltics?
The Baltics, you got a lot of, it's a tough neighborhood too. But we're committed. We're going to be very committed, and we're committed to NATO. But NATO has to step up, and the Europeans have to step up more than they have. And I want to see them equalize because they are in for far less than we're in. And they should be at least equal. You understand that? Why is the United States, we have an ocean in between. Why is the United States in for so much more money and other things as Europe? With that being said, and as you said, they've also been obviously very helpful. But we have put in far more than they have. And I think they should equalize. Yeah, please, go ahead.
What changed between the first time that Secretary of State gave President Zelensky the agreement and today for the Senate?
We made a deal. I'm a business person. We made a deal. That's what changed. I didn't think we were going to make a deal. And we ended up making the deal, so that changed. You know?
How do you envision a trilateral summit with President Zelensky?
I don't know, but they don't like each other. I can tell you that. Okay? They do not like each other. This is not a love match, and it's unfortunate. That's why you're in this situation. The United States should not have allowed this to happen. Okay? The United States, run by a man that didn't know much. I'm going to be very nice. Run by an incompetent person, very incompetent person, should never have allowed this to happen. I've stopped wars. I've stopped many wars. My people will tell you, I stopped wars that nobody ever heard about. I stopped wars before they ever started. You can look at some of I could give you a lot of nations that would tell you right now they were probably going to war. I could tell you right now there's a nation thinking about going to war on something that nobody in this room has ever even heard about. Two smaller nations, but big, still big.
We will see.
And I think I've stopped it. But this should have never happened.
Sorry, just a second. About any negotiations. First of all, I want really to tell you, and I think that everybody understands that Ukraine, more than Ukrainians, nobody wants to stop this war. But at the future, any negotiations, it's understandable that two sides of the war, not Russia and the United States, because this is not the war between Russia and the United States. This is a war of Russia against Ukraine and Ukrainian people. So these two sides will be at the will be at the negotiation table. Then, of course, United States, like the strongest partner of the Ukraine, and of course Europe. I think Europe is very important. I want to speak about it with the president. Yes, Europe is very important for us because we really defend Europe for today. All Europeans really recognize that we are defending lives, and they have real life, and our people are dying. That's why they helped us. And also, it's about the need. Yes, between, like the president said, you have big, nice ocean. Yes, between us. But if we will not stay, Russia will go further to Baltics and to Poland, by the way. But first to the Baltics. It's understandable for them because they've been in the USSR. You know, they've been one of the republics of the USSR, and Putin wants to bring them back to his empire. It's a fact. And when he will go there, if we will not stay, you will fight. Your American soldiers. It doesn't matter. Do you have ocean or not? Your soldiers will fight. It was my question.
I don't want to talk about Odessa now. Let's not talk about Odessa. I want to talk about making a deal, getting peace. We don't have to talk about Odessa, but a lot of cities have been destroyed. A lot of cities that are not recognizable. There's not a building standing, and a lot of things have to happen.
You have to come and to look. No. We have very good cities. Yes, a lot of things been destroyed, but mostly cities alive, and people work, and children go to school. Sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes closer to front line, children have to go to underground schools or online. But we live. Ukraine is fighting, and Ukraine lives. This is very important. And maybe it's Putin is sharing this information that he destroyed us. He lost 700,000 people, 700,000 soldiers. He lost everything. Yes.
Mr. President, one more.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
When did you last speak with President Putin, and what did he say that?
A couple of days ago.
And what did he tell you that gave you the assurance that he wanted?
Well, that's what I do. My whole life is deals. I know pretty good. And I've known him for a long time. I've dealt with him for a long time. He had to suffer through the Russia hoax. You know, Russia was a hoax. It was all Biden. It was nothing to do with him. So he had to suffer through that, and he was able to do that. I think that he wants to make a deal, and he'd like to see it end. That's all I do. That's what I do. My whole life, that's what I do is make deals. And I'm in the middle of a mess because this is a real mess. It's a very dangerous one. If this doesn't get solved now, it's not going to get solved for a long time. So I hope we're going to get it solved. In the back, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Prime Minister Starmer claims repeatedly that his government can engage in not engage in censorship. But his country is going to arrest people for memes and thought crimes, and even more worrisome is pressuring American companies to censor Americans on its behalf. How can he be a reliable, trustworthy partner when he says things are demonstrably false on such a point?
Well, we actually spoke to him about that yesterday, and we thought they took it very, very much too far. J.D. was very strong on it. So was I. So was Marco, and we've been speaking to him about it. Marco, would you like to say something about that?
We have concerns, obviously, with the conduct of those, particularly as it impacts America. And there's real concern that American speech, which is online, could fall into the hands of the British or any country's jurisdiction. And so this is a point the Vice President made in Munich, and I think it's a very compelling one that unites us with Europe as much as anything else is these shared values, and one of them being free speech. So Americans are threatened by it. We're going to need to take action.
I will wear.
It's actually a very important question.
We spoke about this in detail with the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary, and others at lunch yesterday, and I know that Secretary of Commerce Lutnick followed up in private meetings last night. This is really important. We believe Americans have the right to speak their mind, even if we in this room disagree with them. They have the right to speak their mind in the public square, which is often online these days. And we're going to defend that right as it pertains to American companies and American citizens vigorously if we have to. I do think that under the President's leadership, we're going to find common ground with our friends in the UK on this question, but it remains to be seen. The principle that will guide us is we believe in free speech in this country, and we'll fight for it for American citizens.
Mr. President, on the deal, is there any other oil and gas component to the deal? Is it all critical?
A little bit. We'll see.
On LNG?
But we're not really looking for that so much. We got a lot. We have more than anybody in the world, by far. So, no, we're not talking about it too much, but a little bit. I think it affects also, but for the most part, no.
And, sir, is there any agreement from Ukraine to purchase U.S. LNG as part of the deal? Is that on the table?
No, we don't need that.
Mr. President, I just wanted to ask you about, you just mentioned that you'd spoken to Vladimir Putin a couple of days ago. Just to be clear, that's a new call, not the one that you...
I've spoken to him on numerous occasions.
Okay. How was the latest call? What did you discuss?
We will see.
How did it go?
Are you serious with that question?
I am. I'd love to know.
It went well. I think we're going to have a deal.
On the minerals deal, Mr. President, some of those minerals are in the east of Ukraine, not far from the front lines. Areas of
Very good question. Thank you so much.
President Putin to withdraw his forces from those areas if you're...
Well, we'll take a look at the time. We have a lot of area. It's a very big area we're talking about. So we'll take a look. I'll study that and I'll see.
And who would protect those minerals if they are U.S.? Would that be Ukrainian?
They'll be protected. The agreement will protect them. The agreement, yeah, we're signing an agreement.
What if Russia tries to invade or orders Russia to rush into those spots?
I just told you I don't think that's going to happen. And if that were going to happen, I wouldn't make a deal. If I thought that was going to happen, I wouldn't make a deal. You know, they ought to focus on CNN on survival, not asking me these ridiculous questions. Right. Focus on surviving, because CNN's got such low ratings. I don't think they're going to survive. Let's go. Yeah, please, go ahead.
I already mentioned Poland. Poland was under Russian control for decades after the Second World War. When I was a kid, I looked at the United States not only as a most powerful country, richest country in the world, the country that has great music, great movies, great muscle cars, but also as a force for good. And now I'm talking with my friends in Poland, and they are worried that you align yourself too much with Putin. What's your message for them?
Well, if I didn't align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, "Hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the deal?" That doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America. And for the good of the world, I'm aligned with the world. And I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question. Yeah, please.
Hey, I'm going to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you? Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014.
Well, 2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but,
That's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversations, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broke the ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
That.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering
position
on
to
this
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing cards.
But right now, you don't.
I'm
Yeah,
very
you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
What do you
You're
think
gambling
about?
with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is
Can I-
in big
can-
trouble.
can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No.
Can
You've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this.
I,
You have a damn
we-
good chance of
we
coming
are
out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid
thank you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about West
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this, I tell you.
To say thank you.
I said a lot of times thank you to American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on over here. I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look. If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire. What they think.
That wasn't
it doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what.
That wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards. It's going to be a tough deal to make because the attitudes have to change.
Why don't you wear a suit? You're the highest level in this country's office. Own a suit?
Yeah, problem.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that. All right. We'll see what we can do about putting it together. Thank you. Thanks.
Do you think the confrontation in the Oval Office today was pre-planned, like Senator Murphy suggests?
I don't know.
You don't know? You think maybe?
I don't know. No. I don't. I mean, I don't know about it. I think no. I think it was just a really tough situation because we've been very open, very direct.
What set you off? What made you mad? Because they said your tenor and tone.
It's not about mad. It's not, Brad. You see, how to say, when you are in the United States, and for example, president or vice president or somebody or senators, it doesn't matter, big politicians, yes, when they, for example, say that Ukraine is almost destroyed, that our soldiers run away, that they are not heroes, that Ukraine lost millions of civilians, that his president is dictator, you know? What is the reaction? It's not about me. The reaction is that where is our friendship between Ukraine and the United States? That's it. This is filling, and that's why I do not want to lose our great partners at the United States. And I just said that it's not the first time. I said it by phone, and we had some other conversations, and we had in Munich meetings, and I said, please, be correct. Just, I want to be very polite. I mean this, be correct with this number. When you say about the number, each person is important. When you say about 1 million of losses, we don't have any million of losses. Just, when you speak about the territories, maybe some territories and etc., it's not just territory, it's houses, it's people's lives. You know, their fathers, mother, their relatives, grandfather, they died or this. I mean this during this war. Nobody wants to forgive Putin. It's not funny, you know, or fairy tale. This is real life. That's what I said. And when you said it a lot of times to my big friends who've been here today in our dialogue, and then they again begin to repeat the same things, I think it's not, I mean this, that's why I said it's not a good way between partners, good partners and friends. That's it. And I think that if journalists asking questions to president, with all respect to vice president, I mean this, he has his interview.
Mr.
This
President,
is our dialogue.
Shouldn't this dynamic, if you're going to be like this, be behind closed doors? Not.
Of course. And not.
So do you regret that? Are you regretting that happened today?
Regretting? Yes, I think it was not good. I think it was not good because we had a lot of different dialogues. I'm always open to media, but there are very sensitive things. I just want to be honest, and I just want our partners to understand the situation correctly, and I want to understand everything correctly. That's about us, not to lose our friendship.
A couple more things. What are the next steps in your mind? Here we are today.
Yeah.
What are the next steps?
I think so. United States wanted this deal very much, and we've been not against this deal, but we wanted to understand what parts in security guarantees will take this deal and what next steps. Just again to understand for our people during the war what you don't like, even sometimes hate, surprises. It's understandable. Many terrible things this war brought to us. So we don't want any surprises. Yes, that's why we want to be very fair with our partners. And I think this deal, it was prepared by teams. It was not simple during weeks. And now it's ready. I think that they have to sign. The countries have to sign. The ministers have to sign. That's it. I don't know when they will do it. It depends on the American side.
So
exactly.
the minerals deal did not have security guarantees listed in it.
It's a part.
The security guarantees?
This is the part in the infrastructure of security guarantees. Because, for example, President Trump said that I think so that if we will be there in some productions and etc. in minerals, that Putin will never come on this territory where we are. And I said to him, don't trust Putin. Why? I said, because it's not, I mean this, we respect and we believe in strongness of the United States, but I said to him that we had more than 20 companies, American companies, big companies on the territory of Ukraine, and we had offices even on temporary occupied territories. For Putin, it doesn't matter. It's American or European company or Ukraine. It doesn't matter. He just came and occupied it. That's what I said. I think this is a great idea, how to strengthen Ukraine and how to make business between two countries, how to make additional jobs for two countries. But it's not just this will not save us.
I read what the Democratic senator said, that Trump has become Putin's lapdog. Do you agree with that President Trump is too close to Vladimir Putin in your mind?
We spoke about it, and I think today very openly President Trump, he said that I want to be in the middle, otherwise I will not put these guys at the table.
And is he right?
I want to be very honest, I want really him to be more at our side. I will explain why. Because it's not just that the war began somewhere between our countries. The war began when Russia brought this war to our country, and they are not right. And they are not right. They didn't respect our territorial integrity. They brought the war on our territory to our families. Sorry for repeating, to our houses. And they are not right. And of course, all the Ukrainians want to hear strong position of the United States on our side. From one side, it's understandable. From another side, he wants to find some way of dialogue with Putin. But he always said, as I remember, he always said that peace through strength. And that's why I think that he's strong, United States strong, two parties together in this question, two parties always together against Russia. You're very strong to do strong steps against Putin.
Americans are worried about where the money has gone.
Yeah.
Will there be a very rigorous accounting of where the money has gone? It seems like there is some question about whether there's corruption or sold military equipment.
No, it can't be so. 100 billions we've got during 3 years.
183 from the U.S.
Yeah. Now, on the paper, in the documents, yes. But we have, in fact, because 67 came like a weapon. It came through the border. It's checked and it's fixed by everybody, and we shared it not once with the American side. And 31.5, it was direct financial support to the budget. Again, it's very open. It's digitalized. It's open, free, and please, if somebody wants to check it again, we are very, very open with this.
Last thing, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Do you think your relationship with Donald Trump, President Trump, after today, can be salvaged?
Can be? Yes, of course, because it's relations more than two presidents. It's the historical relations, strong relations between our people. And that's why I always began with to thank your people, from our people. And this is the most important. And of course, thankful to President and of course to Congress, but first of all to your people. Your people.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.